Is 99 Nights in the Forest based off of a true story? And if it is, which true story is it based off of? Hey guys, don't forget to like and subscribe. Unfortunately, this game is based off of a true story. And this true story is the story of the 4 kids that survived a plane crash. On May 1st of 2023, a Cessna 206 plane lit on fire and fell into an Amazon rainforest in Colombia. This resulted in many deaths, which included the pilot, the co-pilot, and the mother who died shortly after, along with 4 children that did not die but managed to survive. The mother taught all her skills to the eldest of the child, and then they managed to pick some berries and try to survive for a total of 40 days. This is not true compared to the actual game where you have to survive for 99 days, but it's the same principle where you have to survive before being rescued or to find out the missing truths of the forest. In the actual game, you are to play as basically one of the officers or policemen that are trying to save these children. In the game, these children are actually kidnapped by the deer, but in the real life story, these children were kind of just surviving in the forest. If you take a look at some of the buildings in the actual game, you can see that there are some buildings where there's a plane crash that resembles the actual plane crash in the real life story, which tells us that these 2 stories are actually linked together. The deer is the weirdest creature in Roblox 99 Nights in the Forest. The deer stalks you until night strikes. Then it appears to teleport around. I have seen it teleport in game, by the way, and it goes up to you and it hunts you. It doesn't act like a normal deer. As we can tell from some cutscenes, this deer is able to have human-like intelligence. This is not just any regular deer. There are some different correlations we can make from this deer to actual mythology and different symbols that it has. This deer doesn't seem to hunt animals as well. It only seems to go for players. And we can also see from the other ranger logs in the story, from the lore we can tell that it hunts for other people as well. So it only targets people and no animals. The deer represents many symbols in the game, and we can tell from its lore. It kind of represents how twisted nature is, because this deer kind of represents nature due to how it only targets humans and how wicked that is, because it doesn't target humans to actually survive and eat them. It targets humans just for the fun of it. Because if it were to target something to survive and eat them, then it would just target all the wolves and rabbits in the area. Second of all, it may just be what's known as the guardian in here, because it's supposed to protect the forest from any evil beings. Now, why might us humans become evil, quote unquote evil? Is because that humans have long been associated with kind of uncertainty, because humans have intelligence who are able to create tools and weapons as in the game, right? As you can see, we are able to use different items such as a revolver, rifle. We're able to use spears as well. Some classes even come with different kind of weapons such as kunai, and we're also able to craft many things such as crafting crock pots, crafting like oil barrels or oil rigs that can actually craft the oil barrels, stuff like that. That just shows that us humans, we have intelligence, and that we should be feared by the deer and the other animals in the forest. The deer could also represent the guilt inside of this story, because the deer could just be a symbolization of all the different horrors in the actual forest coming together all to prey on humans. Either way, whatever the deer represents, we know that we shouldn't mess with it, because the deer only hunts for humans and it tries to hunt us every single night. The deer in the game is believed to be the mother in the actual story, and this is because the deer never harms any of the kids. The deer simply tries to keep them safe by kidnapping them and putting them in the den. But why did the game devs pick a deer? They could have picked any other animal there was. They could have just picked an actual human. Why in the world did they pick a deer? Well, here's some mythological parallels we can find from this. Most commonly, people associate it with the Wendigo, which is a very famous legend, and basically it is a once human spirit that turned into a creature due to being a cannibal, and basically that means by eating other humans. Now, this is often associated with a loss of humanity due to the fact that you gain a more deer-like structure, becoming one with nature and going back into your wild desires, such as growing out antlers or even having a deer-like skull, which is the exact same thing that the 99 Nights in a Forest deer creature has. And similar to the Wendigo, the deer may also be a result of a cursed ritual. And we know this because we have seen different ritual buildings around the map of cultists that are actually trying to go ahead and craft a deer of their own. And even in things such as the cultist strongholds, there are scrap that you can get, which are worth 4 pieces of scrap or level 4. But either way, these things, they're literally called cultist experiments, which shows that the deer may just be crafted from the actual human due to the fact that they are being experimented on, and the cultists are actively experimenting to craft a deer. And the cultists and the deer, we know, are working together because the deer never attacks the cultists and the cultists never attack the deer. It's like they are two buddies. Now, they don't live together, but they are very, very similar in this aspect. Other than the Wendigo, the deer has also been associated with other creatures. Although less common, still a very plausible point where the deer might actually be created and the lore behind it. One of the creatures is a skinwalker, which appears to be some shape-shifting creature that can change forms and primarily into a form where it's like vulnerable, so then they can lure in different prey and actually capture the prey and hunt it. In the game, the deer appears to be kind of similar to the skinwalker, with having very long limbs and having an unnatural posture, thus hinting that the deer might be a skinwalker because the back is also really oddly shaped and it runs weird as well. In addition, it could also be related to the Horned God. The Horned God is similar to the Wendigo, but in a sense where it's a more powerful version of it. And it does symbolize the same things, mainly being like how wild nature is, and also with the loss of humanity. The Cultists. It is one of the main core mechanics of the game, being an antagonist alongside the deer. The Cultists use a variety of different symbols across the map and different landmarks to show their true intentions. The Cultist has many different buildings, such as the Summoning Altar, which is believed to actually have summoned the deer or similar creatures. Because you can see there is normally some wolf bodies on it with blood across it, which hints to an actual summoning. Related to this, there's also a bunch of other things that the cultists have put around the map and locations. For example, the cultist stronghold, where all the cultists gather around and try to actually protect themselves and make a little fortress. Along with different cultist bases, such as the military bases, where they keep a bunch of ammo and you have to go in and actually invade them. Or even what seems to be a cultist experiment lab, where there's experiments everywhere. There's different cages which are used to normally hold animals, such as maybe the deer in its deer form, but now in its actual humanoid form. Either way, there's a bunch of different kinds of practices that these cultists do that hint that these cultists are very evil. These cultists also have considerable intelligence, considering that they have been able to run different experiment labs, and also the weapons are getting stronger and stronger. Because as we know, the weakest kind of cultists are the ones holding an old axe, but they get better and better as they go, with certain ones holding crossbows, and even getting to a certain point where in the newer updates, they're able to hold different maces, such as the Morning Star, which are able to do the most amount of damage out of any cultist variant there is. There has also been a theory on what exactly this forest is and what it contains. Because this is not just any regular forest. This was actually supposed to be a research facility. Scientists experimented on different types of animals here, doing all sorts of unnatural tests. And these scientists could very well be the cultists, or even are these cultists, due to the cultist experiments and other things that I've stated in this video. But something clearly went wrong with these tests, because not only are there a bunch of broken cages, there have been escaped creatures, which is probably this deer. People say that this deer was actually the result of a lot of failed experiments combined together, or one failed experiment that caused this deer to have human-like traits. And that is very, very true. We also believe that it might not be a deer originally in the first place. It could be a human infused with deer-like traits to make it be a lot taller, able to walk upright, and also have different types of antlers for it to resemble a deer. This deer started hunting the scientists or hunting humans. Now what I think is that the cultists might not actually be the scientists, and the scientists are actually just the regular humans that came here to actually do the experimenting, because the deer would obviously want to go ahead and harm the people that made him, because the deer might not be happy with how he or she is living, and that the deer is probably trying to get revenge. That's why the deer is attacking all these rangers, because as we know, there have been a lot of different camper pages and ranger logs. For example, one of the ranger logs says, "Something very strange has been going on in the park. A few days ago, I noticed a deer standing on its hind legs and looking at me. At first, I thought it was a human. It wouldn't move closer to me. It just stood there staring at me," which shows basically how much hatred the deer has for the actual humans. But the thing is that the deer didn't go and attack the human, likely because the human or the ranger here had a sort of light, because as we know, the ranger class does have a flashlight. And also, ranger log number 2 simply states, "The deer is just watching me. It doesn't seem to come closer. I don't think it likes my flashlight or my campfire," which clearly shows that the ranger with the flashlight is able to repel the deer. And last but not least, with the last and final ranger log, we can say, we know that it says, "The deer chased me all night. I was only saved when the sun came up and it disappeared into the forest. I bet the science lab at the edge of the forest has some answers." Keyword here, the science lab at the edge of the forest. This almost confirms that the deer is very, very related to the science lab, potentially made by the people at the science lab. And also the rangers and the regular campers, they look the most similar to the scientists because they look like actual humans, compared to the cultists who don't look like regular people, because the cultists, they have masks on them, which probably conceals their identity so that the deer doesn't actually know who they are. And not only did the ranger leave logs, but the hunter and the camper also left their own sort of information to give to the viewers. The hunter's note says, "They told me to never hunt here. The deer behaved differently. I should have listened. It's outside right now, staring at me through the window. Bullets don't work on it. I don't think I'll survive the night." This hunter said that he's not able to survive the night, but the hunter never mentioned anything about the hunter having any sort of light inside the house. But the thing is that if there was no light inside the house, then the deer would go inside the house and try to hunt him down. But because the deer is just staring at him, it just shows that there's probably light inside the house. Now, we've been to these different sort of cabins in our actual playthroughs, and I don't think I've seen a working light yet, so this might just give us a hint into the next update, where we may get some sort of working light in the future inside of these houses, where it'll prove to be a temporary safe zone, similar to how the torches, you can go ahead and expand your campfire to get a bigger safe zone. Also, in the camper's diary, it says, "Someone has been stalking me out here. I've seen it move out of the corner of my eye. It's taller than any human I've seen. It almost looks like a deer." This, I don't think it adds to any information. It just kind of says how scared the deer is, so we can move on that part. There was also a brand new alien update in the game, which obviously featured aliens. These aliens, I don't know if they actually add to the plot of the story, or if it's one of the altered changes, because if you go into the game, it says it's based off of a true story, but it says that some parts of the story are altered. And the aliens, I'm guessing, is probably one of them, because obviously there's no aliens in real life, and in the game, it's probably just fantasy. But the aliens might actually be a symbol for something, because just like how the rangers and the hunters, those logs that they left, are symbols for the actual scared people, or even it might just represent the scientists that have been working experiments on the deer. These aliens might mean something more than just aliens. It might mean like the actual levels of uncertainty in this forest and how we should be scared about whatever is in this forest. Also, I'd like to touch up on the last cutscene that's in the game, specifically the one at 99 days. You can tell that the deer is, wanting to reach his hand out, trying to grab the people at the campfire, but then retracts his hand and goes into the little stone cave where it goes into a hole. This is probably going to be a part 2 to the story, or it might be what happens after 99 days. So after 99 days, similar to how, for example, Minecraft, you can go into the Nether realm. In here, you can probably go into a cave realm and enter the part 2 of the story, which might reveal more mystery and more hints about the actual plot.